Years ago, I joined a program, SEAL Team Physical Training. It was unlike any other program that I've seen in the fitness world. You get up early. The workout is 5:45 a.m. It's rain or shine. Doesn't matter. It could be 0 degrees. It could be 100 degrees. It's rooted in discipline, teamwork, communication, leadership, and mindset. I could probably go on with that list, but that's my takeaways from it. That's what the program was rooted in. At the top of the program was a 10-year Navy SEAL, now U.S. Congressman, John McGuire. There were other instructors hand-chosen by John after an average tenure of about 3 to 5 years in membership. After 20 years of the company being in operations and many thousands of members, John had chosen about 50 instructors to operate the company in 4 to 5 different locations. So 20 years of business, thousands of members. The instructors are hand-chosen by John McGuire, and he had chosen about 50 instructors total for his 4 to 5 different workout locations. The instructors were admired, not necessarily for physical prowess, although they were in pretty good shape, but steadiness and leadership, fitness, mindset, teamwork, humility, and I could go on. They were the epitome of leaders, old, young, CEO, entry level, no matter the type of member, they looked up to the instructors. So we had people that owned companies and were very successful CEOs. People were entry level, different type of backgrounds, politics, religion. All people came together, and no matter what, there was an admiration and a respect for the instructors. But the instructors never asked for it. That was, I think, one of the big differences. Like the instructors, there were no power trips. There was no deserving or entitlement of being an instructor. There was no tenure that said, hey, I've been here for 3 years. I need to be an instructor now. And that person would never be an instructor if they thought that way. They just wanted to serve the membership and help others get stronger. One of those instructors was Deane Cheatham. Strong, steady, squared away, and absolutely hilarious. You'd never laugh so hard while suffering at one of Deane's workouts. The membership showed up for Deane. There are just the majority instructors, awesome, incredible people. But when Deane led a workout, people were there and people worked. They got after it and they loved every minute of it. I got to know Deane over 10 years of suffering early in the morning. He's a devoted husband and father. He's an investor. He is one of the founding fathers of Hometown Realty, one of the region's strongest and most respected independent brokerages that has operated for over 3 decades. Before I got into real estate, whenever I would need help, I would go to Hometown Agent because of Deane. When I got into real estate, I had strong relationships with Hometown agents to help me learn and who supported our growth at peak. I used RCI Builders, affiliated with Hometown, to build my primary residence, and now work with Ben and Sam Rogers, who are the son of Todd Rogers, the co-founder of Hometown, to build at Build Coaching Academy as leadership coaches and consultants. So all of these relationships largely stemmed with my relationship with Deane that's just expanded and keeps going on through my life. Today, I'm lucky to have Deane Cheatham on the Virginia Investor Podcast to share his stories of success in real estate, fitness, leadership, and overcoming adversity. There's so much here to learn. Deane, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Stephen. I feel flattered after that introduction, so we'll see if I can live up to the hype.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I don't think you may have some understanding, but I don't think you realize the impact that you've made on my life and probably thousands of other people in the community from Hometown and everything that it spans from Hometown. It's just, I really look forward to getting into the story. And I want to know just from the beginning more about kind of like what makes you Deane, how you operate. Tell us a little bit about your childhood and growing up.
Sure. Yeah, I grew up here in Richmond, sort of over near the University of Richmond. And I was the only child, so anybody that knows me real well, you can see characteristics of that all the time. But anyway, I went to collegiate K through 12, and then played high school sports, and just felt like I had a good time growing up. And then went off to Hampton-Sydney. I wanted to play football, I wanted to play lacrosse in college, and so Hampton-Sydney gave me a great opportunity to do that. When I got there, I found this like buffet of incredible opportunities to explore, and so I was able to follow the sports. I was able to get in the student government. I was able to sing in the chorus. I was able to be in a fraternity. I was in one time I was at a poetry class, and I got to meet James Dickey, who wrote Deliverance, and he was pointing out celestial things in the sky one night out at this vineyard. I'm like, man, this is crazy. I came here to play football, and now I'm hanging out with a world-renowned author.
Yeah.
So anyway, it was that was a big part of my life. In the thing I sent you, I said, when you grow up in sort of the same atmosphere, the same environment, sometimes you get sort of pigeonholed into who you're supposed to be. And I guess I was labeled as sort of, a pretty decent athlete and, a mediocre, okay student, but, not really more than that. And when I got to Hampton Sydney, I was like, man, I could just wipe the slate clean, and I could do whatever I want to do. And I could set my course out to be who I want to be. And I feel like in a lot of ways I did that. And that was a big turning point in my life.
Was that growing up, going through collegiate, I mean, obviously athlete and student, is that just what you thought life was? And then when you went to college, you were like, whoa, there's so much more to it. Where did that desire to do all these different things come from?
Just because I could. I mean, I felt like maybe, again, collegiate's great, whatever else. I was still a very average student, whatever else, not the world's greatest. There's no plaques with my name on it there for anything. But I just saw the opportunity, just like in life. You get out in life and all of a sudden you realize there are a lot of opportunities that you could seize if you just get off your butt and do it. And so, maybe I was just comfortable with who I was in high school, and I realized maybe I'm not comfortable with that anymore. So decided to get after a few things.
So you're doing all these you're having all kinds of different experiences that you didn't think you would have in college. What was your mindset on what you were going to do professionally out of college? Did you have ambition, or were you studying or training for something after college, or just playing sports and getting decent grades?
I had no idea. I mean, I'd love to tell you that I really had a plan or whatever else, but no, I had no idea. I mean, my buddy Mike Chenault, who will come up in my story a lot, he and I had talked about maybe doing something after college, but I just was sort of living it day to day, and all of a sudden, it's sort of, I saw that the end was near.
Right.
In the spring of 1984, I realized I was going to have to do something, and I was at the post office back then. It wasn't just email; you actually got letters and stuff. So I went and got to the post office, and there was a bulletin board, and there was an advertisement, pinned on the bulletin board about working in the admissions office in the college. I'm like, man, that would be really cool because I love the college. I love talking to people about the college, and so I went and applied for that, and somehow they wound up choosing me for that, and wound up doing that. It was going to be a year or two, and then it wound up being 7 years.
Was that because of your passion for doing it? You enjoyed it, or was it sort of like it just kind of you were doing well enough, and you were just kind of like?
I just loved it. I mean, I got into doing it, and I didn't really understand that it was sales. In education, sales is a bad word. Like, oh, we're not selling anything. But that's what I was doing. I was selling the college, and yet I was also helping people, which I realized along the way that was one of the things that I really, at heart, am sort of an educator and a teacher, and a counselor, and somebody who's trying to lead people. And I was able to meet young men all across the country, and I feel like I was able to change some lives by bringing them there, and some of them had incredible experiences, and I felt like maybe I had a little part of that. It really made me feel proud. So, yeah, that was I guess to answer your question, I didn't expect it to be as long of a tenure, but I loved it and felt like I was doing a good job with it. And then, then I guess, over that course of that time, I got married. We had a couple of children. I'm on this sort of quest for excellence for my college, and my wife's being a good sport and up there, but not really around her atmosphere or whatever else, and wasn't getting the financial resources. Definitely in education, your rewards are not on payday.
Right.
They're in other areas, and so I just felt, one day I just felt like, maybe I would look at some other opportunities where I could do more for my family. And I was goose hunting with Mike Chenault out at what now is a neighborhood called Pebble Creek. That it was yet to be developed. And we were sitting there, nothing was really happening. We're just sort of sitting there quiet. And he's like, hey, man, why don't you come sell real estate with me? And so one of the best decisions I've ever made, I made just like that. Wasn't much snap. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds good. So I went home, told my wife. She goes, "Well, you don't know anything about selling real estate." I'm like, "Well, Mike can do it. I'm sure I can do it." So yeah, and then that was that was in 1995. And
So what is your relationship with Mike?
we met. We went up. For football, you get there early, and so they give you like a different roommate for football season than your regular room. And he was my roommate. I guess they paired us up, Cheatham, Chenault, in alphabetical order. And so, I didn't really know him. I didn't know him at all. And so we hit it off and became good friends. And, we're fraternity brothers, played football, and, have been lifelong best friends, business partners, and everything. So it's funny how, just different in life, you get these different paths, and maybe you choose one, you choose another one, and your whole story could be different.
Right. How long had he been in real estate after college? Because you had been doing the admissions things for 7 years. What did
he got right in it. His mom, Bonnie, who was really the founder of Hometown, had been working in real estate for a company called Bowers, Nelms, and Fonville, which became Long and Foster. And Mike's dad, Melvin, had been building houses. So she was helping some friends and whatever else, and then selling houses. If Melvin built a spec or something, she would list that and sell that. And so then Mike started with Bowers, Nelms, and Fonville, and then really Mike's just an incredible leader and a real visionary, and he just felt like maybe he had a little bit better way or a different way, and so he left. And Bonnie had a broker's license, so he was able to work together with his mom to build the company, and just amazing things have happened since then.
Sweet. Was it named Hometown from the beginning?
Yeah, he named it Hometown, and he didn't want to name it, after himself. He didn't want to just, sort of make it about him. He wanted to make it about not only the community, Hanover County, and the Richmond area that he loves, but about the people that are working there as well. Just like a hometown, like a homegrown hometown business.
Was he already at Hometown when he invited you to join him, or is that when he decided to break
off?
No,
it was Hometown from the get-go. I mean, like 6 months after graduation, they. I think he only worked at Bowers, Nelms, and Fonville for maybe 6 months.
So Hometown was already in existence.
Already rolling, yeah.
And then he recruited you, and that's why he said, "Come sell with me," because he.
Yeah, I think there were maybe 12 agents there at the time, so it was not anything like it is today. But he, I remember getting there the first day, and it was just like, I don't know, 5 or 6 people in the office, and said, "Hey, here we go."
What about the entry of Todd and Rodney?
Yeah, so Rodney was there when I got there. He's 3 years younger than Mike and I, and so when he got out of the University of Richmond, where he played football, and he started with the company, and so he was up and running. Todd went to Randolph-Macon. We played against each other in football, and he also went to Benedictine. He's a year older than me, so we were rivals in high school and in college. But an incredible guy, and I always knew that he was a really smart guy and incredible. He's not like Mike is a visionary, right? Todd is more. He's sort of the behind the scenes. Let's make sure all the T's are crossed, all the I's are dotted, and let's just get all the stuff in order so we can go forward. And so Todd had just gotten with Hometown. Todd's dad was in real estate forever. And Roy Rogers was his name, and I never met him, and he had passed away recently, right before I got it with Hometown. So, and I loved those guys then, and we weren't as close as we are now. But I'm like, one of the motivational factors for me, Stephen, was, I didn't want to fail in front. I never want to fail in anything. I'm not real good at that, but I certainly didn't want to fail in front of my friends. So I'm like, I said before, if Mike could do it, I could do it. Well. Nothing against them, but I'm like, if they're doing it and they're doing it at a high level, then I need to be there too, because I want to be. Right. I want them to respect me for that.
Right. Yeah. So you definitely, there's a strong driving force there, because your teammates or rivals in a sense, where like you got to perform, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's very similar to like our experience at SEAL Team. Like they put you in a team, you're not going to be the one to hold back the team, right? You need to lead. So what was your dynamic? You mentioned that Mike was the visionary per se, and then Todd was more of an operational guy. Yeah. Where did you fit in as far as responsibilities?
Well, I mean, I'm more of the visionary kind of person as well. I got into education, so as soon as I got in the real estate business, I realized that there was no training. Like when I started there now there's all sorts of online stuff and these people that travel around the country and whatever else. And I'm like, man, we just weren't. No one in Richmond was really dialed into that. I'm like, there's got to be a little bit different way. Maybe I can flatten the learning curve. So I found this guy named Mike Ferry, who was from California, who had been out as a real estate trainer for quite some time. But, and there were people in Richmond that were going to see him, and I guess you could get cassette tapes at that time and listen to that. But I got turned on to Mike and met some people from all across the United States and Canada who were doing real estate at a high level, and it really opened the boundaries of the small pond into thinking, anything is possible.
Right.
And that was really cool. And it was sort of like, in watching like the Blues Brothers, like when John Belushi is in the church and James Brown is the minister, and all of a sudden the light shines down on him, he does the flips and the thing. That was like me at my first Mike Ferry thing. I'm like, holy smokes. I mean, this is unbelievable. And so that fired me up. And then I realized, why don't I bring a lot of this information back and help the people in my company? And so I sort of got into this training role, and, that's, Hometown has been a lot of different things, but one of the things we've done well is help new people get in the business and train them and show them the way and change their lives and make them more successful. And so that's a lot of the training has been my thing, and and then I guess sometimes I'm good at keeping Mike. When Mike's thinking about conquering the world, I'm like, well, at first maybe we should just take the first step and the second step, and so I can rein him in a little bit. That doesn't work very often, but sometimes I can do that.
It's good to have that in a partnership for sure.
Yeah, and it's funny. I mean, I wasn't a partner from the get-go, right? I mean, it didn't like I just walked in there. I think it was 4 or 5 years I've been there, and then they decided to make me a partner, which was an unbelievable honor. And not many businesses where you have 4 best friends are successful partners for very long. I mean, our kids grew up thinking that they were all first cousins. They don't know. They probably still don't even know that they're not blood related. And so that has been really special. Our wives are all friends. I mean, and that's still there today. So it's crazy how blessed we are to have that.
It is. I have almost like a level of. This is going to sound bad. I'm very appreciative and grateful for what I have, but almost a level of like jealousy for the community and family that you built around you. And when I say family, I mean like those 4 families and then some extension of that. Yeah. It's insane that just level of like, I don't even know how to describe it. I mean, it's unlike, it's very rare to see something like that. And you guys, your families have grown together, and just the way they all interact. And I've seen they treat each other like families and stuff. And I'm not, I'm nowhere like even close to that. So, but from the outside looking in and what you guys have all done together and the businesses you have, it's just incredible to witness. And that takes such strong leadership from the top. And I know you probably look at it as like, hey, we're just friends, right? There's no like crazy leadership thing that we're doing. Like there's nothing special. But it is like, it's just insane that you guys are able to build such a successful company. Why did you 4 become the partners, like sort of known as the founding fathers of Hometown? Because like you said, it took you maybe 3 to 5 years to become a partner. It probably took others maybe some bit of time as well. How did you guys become like the founding fathers of Hometown? How did that form?
Well, like I said, I wasn't there at the beginning, so I'm sort of a walk-on. They got me on the NIL, so on the portal,
right?
So, but I guess through the training thing, I've always felt like if I could get up front, then I'm going to be held to an accountability, a standard that I may not be able to hold myself to, if that makes sense. And the same with SEAL Team. Like being an instructor held me to a standard that I wanted and that I embraced and that I felt like helped other people too. And so, I guess I wanted to not only, real estate is like independent contractors. Everybody's an independent contractor, and a lot of companies don't have the culture where it's a team or a family. And Mike, from the get-go, wanted it to be a family and just where everybody knew everyone, everybody helped everyone, and our only really rule is treat people the way you want to be treated. The golden rule. And so I liked the whole idea of that. I liked where I was. It wasn't my plan initially, but it just worked out, and so it's been a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, you stepped up and served the team, and you found a way to fill a need, and they probably saw a ton of value in that.
And it helped me too. I mean, it's crazy how, and I'm not the first person to say this, but when you help others, you wind up helping yourself. So every time that I help people through some dialogues or objection handling or handling their situations, I mean, I learned from that too.
Right.
And so we all took stuff away, and we all are better because of that.
Right. I remember early on when I knew nothing about real estate and not a whole lot about business. I think I was talking to someone, it might have been the McGuires or someone, but I was like, what does Deane do? Like, why is he who he is? Like, because I'd started to, piece together what some of the members were doing and stuff like that. And I remember them saying, like, Deane is the relationship guy. Like, Deane has, like, it was basically like a whole monologue on the relationships that you built and the relationships that you keep. And I've always thought of you as that because I see that in you in every conversation that you have. It's like you're always, to some extent, entertaining. Like, you're very entertaining to talk to and have a conversation with. And I don't know if that's like exhausting for you or not, or if it's just like, if it's natural. Because for me, sometimes it can be very exhausting to like try to entertain. But every single conversation you have, or the workout that you put on, or when I see you in front of people, it's always just so entertaining to see how you think and how you act and things like that. So I could definitely see how you were a big relationship guy.
As I think back to the only child thing, like, when you, like, and both my parents were only children, so I don't have any first cousins. Mm-hmm. I don't have any family, and so my mom one time said, you better choose some good friends.
Yeah.
And I didn't really consciously go out to do that, but that's what it's worked out. And as far, maybe that's why the entertaining side comes out, but that's just, I don't really intentionally do that.
Yeah.
It just sort of comes out. I don't
know. And it's not, I'm not saying by any means it's like an act. It's very, it's very genuine.
But I just like to have fun, too. I mean, and that's part of my thing is if you're not having fun, whether it's in your business or whether it's with your exercise routine or whether it's hobbies or whatever, if you're not having fun, you're not going to do it, and you're not going to do it to any kind of high level. And just life is so much better if you're enjoying it, and if you can enjoy with other people, that exponentially makes it better.
Right.
So.
What do you think contributes, like, what are some of the main factors that contribute to the success of decades-long partnership with your team?
Just good people, I mean, we've got good leadership, but that's only maybe just a small portion of it. Is we've just been blessed to have great people believe in the company and believe in us and come on board and stick around. We've got folks, lots of agents that have been there for more than 25 years.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And and so if you follow that rule, if you treat people the way you want to be treated, not just with your coworkers but with your clients and out in the world, then things just tend to work right.
Right.
And so we've had lots of people come back to us for repeat business and send their children and neighbors and friends and whatever else. And so we're very fortunate that way, but it's been the people. We don't have any secret sauce really that, we don't know anything different than anybody else. Just I think we interact well together.
Was there any lessons learned when you had to go, because you were selling real estate first, and it's different when you are the player versus the coach. And so you're selling real estate and then you went more into like a coach position, or you're a producer to kind of leading producers after that. Was there any challenges in that as you're trying to scale the brokerage?
Yeah, I mean, there's always time challenges with that. And one of the unique things about us is the coaches we're like player coaches. So all of us still sell actively, and that's really our primary thing. And so I think that enables you to be a better mentor, a better teacher, a better leader if you know what's going on in the field. And I'm not saying you can't do it a different way. Our way is just, this is what we've done. So if you come to me as an agent with a concern, a question, something that's going on in one of your transactions, well, I may have done that yesterday versus 15 years ago. And so I think people can trust us better knowing that we're in the game.
Right.
And we don't really, the negative might be they see you as a competitor, but we really never had problems with that.
And that's a culture thing, right? Because you said earlier that Hometown is a team. It's a family. And so like you can have the competitive mindset, which you need to have to some degree, but not internally as a team. Or you can have the abundance mindset where it's like there's plenty out there. If we work together, we're going to be stronger. And that again goes hand in hand with like the SEAL team physical training mindset as well, with like helping each other out.
There's plenty of push-ups to go around.
Right, exactly. Yeah. When to kind of set the stage, how many agents does Hometown have right now, roughly?
Right now, 240, somewhere in that neck of the woods. We've been as high as 340 something. Mm-hmm. And the nature of the market right now is it's a more of a challenging market, and you see numbers ebb and flow. We hate to see anybody leave, but it's for especially somebody who's really not as committed to it, part-time agent, whatever. It's a tougher world, so some of them had to branch out and do something different.
Right, and you have some very successful agents. You can have thousands of agents and maybe have a small percentage producing, but you have some really productive agents.
We do. It's again, they say in real estate there's no ceiling, and that's true. There's also no floor. But if you are willing to put in the time and effort and do things the right way, treat people the way they want to be treated, the sky is literally the limit. It's amazing. And watching some of these people, watching the Matt Giroux and the Tommy Sabigas and Blakely Smith and on down the line, some of these people that have come with us and just changed. There's a guy, Ernie Chamberlain, was a Chesterfield County teacher, somebody who I really can sort of get behind because of being in education. He came to Hometown, and he's let me tell you, he's much happier on payday than he was working for the Chesterfield County school system, and I'm sure he misses some of the stuff that he was doing in the classroom. And hopefully somebody has taken his spot there and is doing a great job for him. But I'm telling you, he's doing wonderful things for his life, for his family and his community. So it's fun as a leader, to watch the success of these people and see and everybody's background is different. Mm-hmm. That's another beautiful thing about real estate. You don't have to come from some real estate university or from a different career, man, woman, black, white. It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. You just get out there and do it, and you can make it work. So that's really cool.
Yeah, especially in a supportive environment like that, like that sort of brokerage. The success of Hometown Realty, to me, it really looks like it's the culture that you guys have created. You guys as leaders, but also within the team as well, and the separate like team leaders and stuff. I probably know personally 30 plus agents at Hometown, and they're just good people.
Yeah.
So
and fun to hang out with. It's again back to the whole thing. If you're working around a bunch of people that you really don't like to be with, it's going to be tough.
Where do you want Hometown to go over the next 10 years?
That's a tough question, and we've got as we're getting older. I'm 59. Todd is not sure if he's turned 61, but anyway, he's the senior man. So we're all knocking on the door in the low 60s here. So, we don't really know where it's going to go because we don't know. We really haven't talked too much about a succession plan. But I feel like, we've got none of us are ready to hang it up, and so we hope this market, maybe we can get these interest rates down a little bit, bring some new people into the business, and we've still are constantly training and offering great things to our agents, whether they be newer to the business agents or experienced agents, trying to keep the edge sharp. What my hope is we can get the new agents coming into the business. We can build the numbers up a little bit and train some people and change more lives, and then hopefully find some folks to we can pass the torch to.
Awesome.
Whenever we're ready to do that.
So, because due to the nature of the podcast, I want to ask you a little bit about investing.
Sure.
I'm way more interested with this conversation about some leadership and some other things that we'll get into. But I do want to know, like, being in real estate for so long and having such successful brokerage, when did you realize the impact of real estate investing, not just the retail sales?
It's a pretty funny story. So, back to how much Mike Chenault has influenced my life in some good ways and some bad ways. But the real estate investing has been a really good way. It was 1997. I'd been in the business for 2 years. I started off, and I got some traction, but I wasn't like killing it right off the bat. So I've been in the business maybe 2 years, and Mike's like, they were doing a subdivision called Spice Tree off of Pole Green Road in Hanover County, and so RCI Development is Mike and Todd, and they had, I don't know, 80 lots or something, and they had 4 sort of not the best lots left over. And Mike's like, we're going to buy them. We got this builder's going to build these houses. We're going to buy them. We're going to rent them out. And I'm like, we are? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, well, where are we going to get the money? He's like, I got a guy who's going to loan us some money. It's going to be great. And, Mike's already seeing, like, he's looking at it like today. It's like it's 2025, right? And I'm looking at, like, tomorrow, I've got to talk to my wife about this. Mm-hmm. And you're in the business, so like, everybody wants to be an investor until you have to invest. Right? I mean, it's a cool thing to think about until you got to be the one on the diving board looking into the deep end, So anyway, I don't know. So we did it. We bought those 4 houses, and then along the way, we got Rodney and Todd involved, and we formed a partnership, and we just sort of kept buying here and there and whatever else, and now Mike has sort of gone a separate way with his portion of it, but Rodney and Todd and I are together, and we have 18 or 20 houses in that partnership, all paid off. It's nice to be on the receiving end of things and the giving, and it's been great. And we have some commercial things, so we've a lot of the office space and stuff. When we've expanded, we've tried to buy office space and rent from ourselves, which has been a good thing. And then, now with my children, I've tried to find some opportunities and help them get a base. So my son and my daughter, Clayton and Caroline, now have a little partnership with their spouses, and we've got, I guess 4 properties for them, and it's,
that's awesome.
It's just a great thing. I
mean, generational wealth. I mean, and you're doing it through something you're passionate about. Yeah. Where it's interesting that most people come on the podcast. It's not about the money for them. It's just about the journey, the adventure, being successful, helping other people, and then the money comes. Which those are my kind of people. Like that's what I really appreciate. But it's awesome that you're obviously passing that on to your kids as well.
Yeah, they like it.
Was it? Yeah, I bet. Was it always like rentals for you, or did you get into flipping and other stuff as well?
At first, it was rentals, and then we had a house that had been rented, and it was in really bad shape, so we had to go do pretty much a 93% renovation on that thing. And so my wife, Cindy, I've been married to her now for 36 years. High school sweetheart. It was recently homecoming dance time, and so that was our first date, was at the homecoming dance, collegiate. So anyway, she sort of undertook that project and managed that and sort of liked that. And so from that point on, we've her and I have done some renovations and flip kind of things over the years. I don't know how many it is. We've done 15 or 16. Mm-hmm. It's not major league, but it's given her something to do, and she's really good at it. And we've got a couple guys that work for us that, we've been able to give them sort of a steady income over the years. And so it's been cool. And it's cool to watch the project. We're just finishing one up in Lakeside right now. And I mean, Sweet. You talk about a dog when we got it. And it really looks great. It's going to make somebody a wonderful home. And it's just fun. And, there's a little bit of money in it too. We don't, we've yet to hit a home run with it because we want to do it right. And anyway, but it's good. So so we've done a little of that, and then like I said, so some residential rentals, and then the commercial rentals, and then a few flips along the way.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. And you guys have some interesting hometown offices, or at least one that I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
That is just a beautiful, absolutely gorgeous property.
Oaklawn.
Yeah, Oaklawn. That's what I thought it was. It's funny you mentioned that about flips, like not hitting a home run. We had Travis Gardner on a previous episode, and we were talking about one flip that he did where he was just like, it was a horrendous business plan because his construction company is such a high end that they built it to that level in a neighborhood that was not that level. And it was just hilarious hearing that story because he ended up having to hold on to that for a few years. It ended up being time solves everything. So it was a rising market and he got out at a good price. But that's awesome. I have to ask, before we move on to leadership, I am really curious about this. 2008, 2010, right? Yeah. So like, how did Hometown weather that? And then I'm sure you've had plenty of investments at that point. Like, how did you guys weather that as a team?
Well, again, with great people, and we never stopped working. It wasn't a whole lot of ducks on the pond, if you will, but we had people still getting after it. And so, I don't think we ever lost money during that as a company. A lot of agents had to, including myself, had to, really look hard to find some other sources of income. And I was doing these BPO, broker price opinion things, where they pay you like $50 to drive to, Amelia and take some pictures of a house or whatever else. I remember I had a couple foreclosures, and things were on the market a long time, and I was cutting grass. Like, they would pay me $100 to cut the grass at the damn foreclosures. So I mean, you just had to do what you had to do,
right.
And I guess looking back, it was a good experience in a way because it really made you value when times are good. And you think about people back in the Great Depression and what they had to deal with, and there was nothing like that.
Right.
It was never any doubt in my mind that I was going to be able to feed my family. We just might not be, eating, steak. We might have, whatever. But it wasn't a big deal.
Right.
I take that back. It was a big deal. It wasn't desperate times.
Right.
For me.
Yeah.
I'm sure some people it was.
Right.
And then you weather that out and you learn, if you keep working that hard, then when it gets a little bit easier, the results really start to come. Right. So the best agents, if you look around the Richmond Association of Realtors right now, a lot of the best agents that you'll see, most productive agents you see, they started then. Mm-hmm. So they didn't know what it was like when the low-hanging fruit was there. They learned when you had to get out and get after it. So they sharpened their skills. They became really good at the craft of helping people buy and sell real estate, and they've benefited tremendously from that.
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective. That's cool. Leadership. I want to get into leadership. There's a few different reasons I had you on this podcast, but leadership is one of them. I've always seen you as a very strong leader, and it's interesting that it started through the fitness program. And you would think like, okay, well, he was an instructor. How can you tell like he's just asking people to do push-ups and stuff? Now, people who have been to SEAL team will understand. People who haven't, maybe like, okay, he's a fitness instructor. It doesn't make you a leader. SEAL team physical training was a different breed of programs, right?
Yeah,
and so you kind of have to experience it to understand what that leadership looked like. Taking a group of 100 people in the dark through a park where no headlamps and we're running through trails and just we're teaching the team to call out their steps and if there's low-hanging branches and if you're taking a left or right, and we're teaching the team to, you might be in small groups. You have fast people and slow people. Again, it's dark out. It could be 0 degrees. It could be freezing rain, 30, and we're in a dark park running around. And we have fast people, slow people, and we have the faster people go back to last and check on the slow people. Like, there's a massive leadership component, and you can't just tell people to do that. They have to believe you and trust you and respect the instructions, because you're talking to other adults. Again, some that are business owners, CEOs, that different levels of like accomplishment, different beliefs, different political beliefs, religion, anything. Yeah. And they have to look at you and be like, okay, I trust this guy. He's going to take us through a 1 hour workout in the dark, freezing rain through this park I've never been to, and I trust him, and he's going to lead this team. And you have to do that successfully week after week after week. And so we have that first. And so I'm introduced to SEAL team looking at you as an instructor and have a massive amount of respect for instructors because of what I'm trying to do. I'm heavily influenced by the instructors at this point because I'm I'm trying to get after it and trying to be the best I can to step up for you guys.
Well, at that time, you were looking at going into the military.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so I looked at you guys as like, I had to get through you first and like your approval and your respect first. And so that was one thing I looked at, and obviously the respect of John McGuire as an instructor and former Navy SEAL.
Sure.
But then you hear that a lot of these instructors are like, we have one that is a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. We have others that are high-level executives in other corporate entities. We have business owners, and then you have one of the region's strongest performing real estate brokerages, which is no small deal. I mean, there's a lot of leadership involved in that, a lot of work and hustle that goes into that. Why? Like, how? Were there early childhood influences that were great leaders that you looked up to, or did that happen through sports? What was like an example of leadership for you growing up, good or bad, of like what you didn't want to be?
That's a great question. I mean, I always had a lot of respect for my parents, and that, like I always wanted them to be proud of me. Mm-hmm. So, I guess I carried that over. Once I had children, I wanted them to be proud of me. I didn't want them to think their dad was just some kind of slap or a slack ass or something. So, in anything I've tried to do, I've tried certainly not to be bad at it. And I've tried to, excel as well. So, when you were asking that question, and I may get off base here a little bit, but, at SEAL Team, it's a little bit easier to lead because sweat is a great equalizer. Mm-hmm. When everybody is sucking wind and whatever else, it puts everybody sort of on the same plane. So I never felt any pressure that this guy does this and this gal does this or whatever. Hey, everybody's out there for a reason, and maybe they have different specific reasons, but they wouldn't be there if they didn't want to do it,
Right.
And sometimes you may question that after the first, 15 minutes, or it's pouring down rain, you have to lay down on the ground and do sit-ups. Right. But so I found it really, John was a role model for me there, and I didn't want to let him down. When you get up front, you don't want to let the members down. So I tried to prepare. I never just went out and did like a wing it workout. I always had some preparation, sometimes better than others, but always had some preparation because I wanted them to go home and feel like, hey, this was a good, I got my money's worth today. Mm-hmm. And so I had coaches. There was a guy named Ray Tate. Anybody who's a University of Richmond fan, Ray Tate played at Richmond, and he volunteered his time to come out and coach us in high school football. And he was like a real hard-ass, traditional, old-school football coach, but I really respected him and really respected the way that he would work you hard and then love you up. Like, mm-hmm. I think today sometimes the working people hard and yelling people and doing all that kind of stuff is easy. It's when you have to work somebody hard, or you have to make a correction with somebody, or you have to help somebody, and that gets a little tense. Then can you then come back around and make them smile or give them a hug or whatever it might be? And so that's sort of how I tried to do my leadership at SEAL Team was, let's work hard, but in the middle of that, let's smile and laugh a little bit. Let's laugh at ourselves. I mean, the thing about me sometimes being funny is I always do stupid stuff, so I can always make people laugh at me, mm-hmm. which is fine. I'm comfortable with that. So, yeah, I don't know if I've really answered that question, but there have been people in my life that. Let's go back to this. So in college, there's a guy named Graham Daniels who was 2 years older than me, who I just thought was the man. Like, he was in the fraternity. We were KAs at Hampton-Sydney, and he was like a leader in the fraternity. And, at the parties, he was always having a great time and whatever else. On the football field, he was tough and, a guy that I just really admired on the football field. And then, he would study, he made good grades, and I'm like, I could be that, I could be sort of the Renaissance man where I could cover all these bases. I'm capable of that. I just got to do it, And so at SEAL Team, I'm watching John, I'm watching whatever. I'd never done anything like that and been in that kind of leadership role, but I'm like, you know what, I think I can do this. Mm-hmm. And it was fun.
Were you a leader on the football team, like captain? Or
I got hurt, like so I got a lot of things about me. I'm really good at cancer, and I'm really good at getting knee injuries. other than that, I'm pretty healthy. So, I was a captain of the lacrosse team, and I got hurt during my sophomore year, so I really never had a chance to get to the maturity level in the football. But lacrosse, I was, and I was in student government, and I was a leader and officer in the fraternity and stuff like that. So I had some leadership roles along the way.
And was there anything about because it sounds like when you got to home team, you naturally, I don't know if naturally is the right word, but you stepped up to provide value to the team like a leader would. Was there any thought about was that more of a just trying to be successful thing or trying to help the team, and then just naturally you were a leader?
It's just natural. I think I didn't have a plan to do that. I didn't go, when we were goose hunting, I didn't go, Mike asked me to work there, then in 4 years I want to be on. Yeah, no, that was not it at all. It just came from an interest in being better, an interest in helping other people get better, and then finding some knowledge elsewhere that I'm like, man, we could bring this back. It's not rocket science, but I could bring this back and share this, and we could really get some things going.
Man, I think that is so valuable. What you just said, I hope everyone would just rewind that, listen to that again. The reason I think that is so valuable is there's so many people that will tell you they want to step up and take over Hometown, or they want to step up and take over Peak, and they want to lead this and they want to do that. The way to do that is to add value and care about the team. Yeah. And it's just I kind of joked earlier, I think, talking about SEAL Team PT instructors. We had people come up to us and say, hey, I want to, it's okay to share that you're interested in being an instructor, but when you ask, when am I going to become an instructor? Never. It's never going to happen. And same in the jiu-jitsu world. If you are talking to your instructor about getting the next belt, you're not. It's not going to happen, right? The idea is you with humility, you come and you just try to show up, try to add value, try to help other people. And naturally, just like you said about money, the more you help other people, the more you get paid. Yeah. Same in SEAL Team physical training, the jiu-jitsu world, the business world. Help the team, have a genuine care about the team. Don't expect anything else in return, and you're going to be a solid leader, in my opinion. I mean, there's some other traits, but that's a lot to do with it.
It's interesting as you say that. I'm thinking, well, it's not that you don't want to have goals, right? You know, and it's not that you don't necessarily want to have specific goals. It's you just can't have. I don't know. I was going to say you can't have expectations, but you need to expect and think positively that you're going to get to those goals. It's not going to be handed to you.
Right.
You're going to have to take some steps. You're going to have a lot of faith. You're going to have to surround yourself with a lot of good people. So we're not saying you don't want to have goals or whatever else. You just have to be careful about how you present it, how the expectations you have as far as how fast you're going to get there, and is it going to be given to you, or are you going to earn it, and how are you going to earn it?
Right. The word has become cliche, but entitled. You just don't want to be entitled to it. But what is your opinion of the difference between being a boss and being a leader?
I think being a boss is a lot easier than being a leader.
For sure.
I mean, that's what people. I think there's people that mistake those two terms. They're not interchangeable. A leader. I like the whole idea of leading from the front. We went over to Normandy for the 75th anniversary of D-Day, which is one of the coolest trips I've ever taken. And on one of the tours, they're talking about Teddy Roosevelt Jr., who was a general, or I can't remember if he was Army or Navy, but it doesn't really matter. But anyway, they hit the beach. Of course, it was all chaos. Nobody was where they were supposed to be, and whatever else. Everybody's losing their mind and whatever else. And so this is one of the greatest leadership phrases that have ever heard. And so you can almost picture the scene. There's explosions going on the beach. They're dug in the sand, and these people are losing their mind. They're like, we're not here, and Bravo company's not where they're supposed to be. And Teddy, and he goes, what are we going to do? He goes, well, let's just go ahead and start the war from here. That's let's just use common sense. Let's treat people, even though that's just one statement, but let's just not worry about all the crap that's going on. Right. We can't control where the Germans are or whatever else. We can just control the fact that let's get off our ass and let's get going.
Right.
And so often that's how, whether it's business or in your fitness or whatever else, that's just what you got to do.
There's so many people that make the excuse, or some excuse, that they're out of control. They don't have any control over the situation. And let's just start the war from here. I think I need to put that up on the wall somewhere.
You can research that. And it's funny because Roosevelt was like really old, and he died maybe weeks later, like natural causes or something. He was much too old to be there to begin with. But anyway,
Wow.
I love that.
So leadership, you have to adjust your approach often with different people.
Yeah.
Was that a learning experience for you, or again, just naturally, like you understand that different people operate differently and need to be treated differently?
I think I naturally had some of that, and then I did study some of that through my training with Mike Ferry in real estate. And just once you realize that not everyone is wired like you are, so that there's different personality types. And my sort of expressive personality, where I'm a visionary and doing different things, is in sharp contrast to a number of other styles, especially like the really heavy analytical style, because like I don't even know, like a spreadsheet to me, like if you give me a spreadsheet, or if you even worse, if you told me to make one, like it's not like I don't know how to work the computer, because I do know how to work the computer. I just like a spreadsheet. I'm more like, man, if it feels good, we're gonna go with it. And I know that's extreme, but so somebody who is on that analytical side, they're not gonna really get my program. So you do have to sort of be versatile, and versatile is adapting to other people in a lot of different ways in a lot of different areas, so that you can better communicate and work together to get the results you want. Mm-hmm. And so I learned that along the way. I think humor and smiling makes a huge difference as far as breaking any barriers down, because everybody gets that, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody likes to be happy versus being upset or sad or tense or whatever else. So I use that as a part of my leadership style, and that just sort of came naturally. And in what we're doing, it's not like I have to get somebody to try to do something they don't. The goal, we all basically in the real estate world have the same goal. We want to be successful. We want to help people buy and sell homes. We want to try to take the stress out of that, and we would like to make some money along the way. So, some people it's easier to get them moving in that direction, but at least everybody has the same vision. So that's been pretty easy to get moving with that.
What would you say if someone's in a leadership position and they're not the best leader? Do you have any recommendations of how they would become a better leader? Whether it's like read a book, listen to a podcast, or get active in some community. What would you say? Yeah,
I think if you're not a natural, or if you're looking to improve your leadership skills, there's so many areas now. You mentioned Ben and Sam and their Build program. I mean, there's. Not to put a shameless plug in for them. Hey, call.
Yeah.
But
their book's right there.
They're really good at it, and they're not the only ones. So you can look around and find it. But I just feel like mentors are so valuable. So whether it would be paying somebody a service who's a professional, or saying, you know what, I see Stephen Glover and I see Travis Gardner and I see John McGuire, whoever it might be, try to spend time with those people. I always found like one of the big mentors, I should have mentioned this before, is a guy named Sam Wilson. He was the president of Hampton-Sydney when I was there. Incredible story back to World War II. He heard Winston Churchill on the radio in 1940 when he was 16 years old, and was so moved that he wrote a note to his mom and said, I'll be back when the war's over. Went to Farmville, walked from Rice to Farmville, 11 miles, lied about his age, got on the train, left as a bugler, came back a 3-star general 37 years later. I mean, this guy was a badass, right? And I learned so many lessons from him, as far as just, one of the things he always said is, every time you take a step up the ladder, reach back down and try to bring as many people with you as you can. And I'm like, wow. I mean, to me, that's leadership. If you're the boss, you're just telling people what to do, and they think it's just for you. Whereas if you're a leader, you're in the front, you're moving forward, but you're bringing people with you, and they're benefiting along the way. People are going to react to that, and they're going to appreciate that.
Yeah, that's powerful. And that goes hand in hand with the fitness world. With you've done training with VCU and other athletic teams and things like that alongside SEAL Team Physical Training. You notice the leaders of those teams, the captains, whoever, the seniors, whatever team or entity you're working with, when they get tired, it's the thing you see on day one is they get their blinders on, and they only focus on themselves. And so, and people think like, well, as a leader, no one understands and things like that, and they start feeling sorry for themselves and stuff like that. If you could teach a team to, or at least the leaders, to not put those blinders on, and when things get hard, the best thing to do is look left and right, check your teammates. That's a powerful thing. Yeah. And so when we hit our leasing season and things get busy, I will talk to the leaders of our team and say, hey, no blinders. You're looking left and right. The more you can help your teammates, regardless how busy you are, the better you're going to feel. And so if you feel burnt out, if you feel tired, if you feel stressed, you spend some time helping. It seems counterintuitive. Spend some time helping your teammates out. That's going to solve everything. And so we have our team looking left and right to their teammates and checking each other out. So
it's funny. We did a little thing a couple months ago, and exact same thing happened. They're out there and it's good, and we got the sandbags, and next thing you know, their so-called leaders now become screamers, and they're yelling at each other. They're cussing. They are feeling sorry for themselves, just the classic stuff when you sort of break them down. And that was really, Travis was leading that. It was our intent to do that. And this one guy who really probably, I don't know the team as well as maybe Travis does, but I sense this guy was maybe one of the better players, maybe the best player on the team. Also the mouthiest one. And I mean, when he broke down, he started cussing like crazy. And I'm trying to think of how can I help this guy? Where can I start building this guy back up? And I went over to him like, hey man, I said, you know what? All this cussing, we got to stop this. That house right there, my grandmother lives there. She's the biggest basketball fan in the world. And if she hears you out here running, cussing like that, what do you think she's going to think of your team? He's like, oh, that ain't good. I'm like, no, it's not good. So what are you going to do? He goes, I got to clean that up. And so it's like little things. And then just from there, now he knows that maybe he's accountable for some things, and that I'm paying attention. And then we started doing some push-ups. I could see he was failing a bit, so I started doing push-ups right next to him, because I'm sure he's thinking, this old fat guy's like, I got to be able to do at least as many as he can do. So, and then I started encouraging him, building him up, and, who knows what happened after that. But, that was those lessons that you can learn like that. Just and the more you're exposed to that, you really see how we can fall into that same trap, and I do it too. Yep. If something happens in my life, well, the first thing is, woe is me. Well, woe is me never got anybody anywhere. John McGuire said, feeling sorry for yourself is a strategy that just never helped anybody get anywhere in life. Right. And so the adversity that I've had to deal with, one of the first things I think about is, somebody's got it worse.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all about perspective.
Somebody's got it worse.
There were times back in the day when I was training, where I was working with a nonprofit for wounded veterans, and it's Operation Enduring Warrior, and the whole goal was to empower wounded veterans and show them there's still life after you get blown up. Yep. Right. And so these guys are literally triple amputees, double amputees, and they had all kinds of different wounds, and we would take them on hard endurance challenges, and we would have them on our backs. Literally carrying like triple amputee. We would be doing 10-hour races with them in Hawaii in the mountains and stuff with gas masks and everything. And then, so we did some pretty hard things, I'll say. Like they were pretty challenging. And, years later, I would have a hard day in business, and I would forget that perspective. And then there would also be times where I would look back and remember that and be like, are you freaking kidding me? Like they're so like, I'm feeling sorry for myself because I didn't get 8 hours of sleep last night. Are you
here in the air conditioning?
Yeah, like anyway, the more and this is a whole other tangent we can go off of, but like the more you suffer and challenge yourself, the more it helps your perspective. And if you can't physically do, suffer and challenge yourself, then read about other people who have been through some stuff, and man, that perspective is valuable. When did you get involved in SEAL Team?
I don't know. Gosh, I would say maybe 2000.
Okay.
Somewhere around there. I don't know exactly. It might have been 2002, 2003, something like that.
Got it. And then
Mike got me to do that as well. So he's,
Really?
again, yeah, he never really has been totally committed to physical fitness after college. But he went out for the 2-week thing and got through it, and then he would tell me about it every day. I'm like, that sounds pretty cool, and I was a little bit reluctant, but I'm like, man, this sounds like right up my alley. And I went out there and did it. Of course, once I got through the 2-week class, he never came back. Mike didn't, but I knew that I had found something that was going to be great for me and was a huge part of my life. I had to stop it because of a knee injury that I had in college, and it just deteriorated. And I wound up having to have a knee replacement. I just can't run.
Right.
I'm not supposed to run.
Right.
If you were chasing me, I could run a little bit.
Right. Yeah, enough to get away.
Yeah.
Did fitness always play a role in your life, or did that become more important as you were leading these teams and developing
I guess in
business?
college, like I told you, I had like this metamorphosis in college where I realized that I could really be something, and so I'm like, if I train, I could really be good at this, and so I challenged myself to become stronger and faster in college, and then some injuries, set me back a little bit there. But then when I got in the real estate business, I was working a lot and really wasn't paying attention to what I was eating, and I was just going through the drive-thru and smashing some burgers and whatever else, and so I gained some weight. And I remember Rodney Chenault. I got some pictures on my business card, and Rodney Chenault. I'm not going to say who it was. There was another agent in town who was big and fat, and he had a nickname, and like Rodney saw my card and he called me by that nickname. I'm like, well, that's it for this. That ain't happening again. So I got back into the whole game. I got a job at Club Fit, leading some class, like a Stairmaster class thing, just because that would I had to open the gym, and I had to be there at like 5:30. So I'm like, well, if I have to do that, well, I might as well just go ahead and work out.
Right.
So that helped me be accountable, and that was the start. And then they had some sort of a like SEAL team sort of thing going on there, and I liked that. And then I started getting with John, and the rest is history. I've been really committed to it ever since then.
How would you summarize what fitness in general has done for you over the past 20 years in your relationships, your business, your leadership, et cetera? How would you summarize that?
I went down to the first Mike Ferry thing I ever went to was in Orlando, Florida, and that was the same time all this was going on. I'm like, I'm gonna change my life, and so I said I'm gonna go to the gym at the hotel, like the Orlando Conference Hotel or something. So I'm going to go to the gym in the morning. So I call down, when does the gym open? They're like, it opens at 5. I'm like, good gracious. I'm like, all right. So wipe the sleep out of my eyes and get on down there. At 5 minutes to 5, there was like 25 people waiting to get in the gym.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, God, what is there, like a fitness conference here at the thing at the same time as the real estate conference? Anyway, go in the gym, work out, whatever. Come back, go to the Mike Ferry seminar, and there's a panel of the world's greatest real estate agents on the stage. And I'm like, man, I recognize these people from somewhere. I started thinking about it, like, those are the same people that were at the gym this morning. And I'm like, ding, 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 ding. Maybe there's something to this. Mm-hmm. Like people that take care of themselves, that have a disciplined exercise regime, early morning routine. Maybe there's something to it. And so, I started talking to them, and they're like all basically the same thing. Yeah, well, I do this every morning, whatever else. Mm-hmm. So for me, getting that morning routine, I'm great at getting my schedule screwed up later in the day. But if I can get to the gym in the morning and do my thing, and thank God my wife has been behind me to support me to do that. And I know it's hard. We have young children and whatever else. I was in a fortunate situation where I could do it, and thank God I did, because, going through the hard times in real estate, whether it be just long days and whatever else, I had the energy to deal with it. Mm-hmm. I always felt like, because I got started early in the morning, whether it be SEAL team or I've always, ever since that time, always got up sometime. For SEAL team, I used to get up at 4:46, and throughout my life I get up early, and I feel like I've got to jump on the day. My motor is running full throttle by the time most people are just getting up and having their first cup of coffee. So I felt like it gave me a head start. And I'll tell you, I feel like, we can talk about some of this later too, but, some of the challenge I've gone with this brain cancer and stuff, I feel like that has enabled me to battle through that a lot better than it would if I had not been in good shape.
Yeah. Well, I don't really know how to transition to that, so let's go ahead and jump in.
Yeah.
I'll make a note. There is a podcast that you did with, if you're on YouTube, you can find it, Coach 5 AM. And it's supposed to spell Sam. It's Sam Rogers is the host. But Coach 5 AM. Look up the podcast episode with Deane Cheatham. It is a really powerful podcast to listen. It goes deep into the adversity that Deane has had to face. But to me, this goes hand in hand with your success, your leadership, who you are as a person, and again, like everyone's high level of respect for you. You've dealt with some unimaginable loss and personal challenges. You've lost your son to a car accident, sudden loss, and you've had brain cancer. I believe you've had another type of cancer as well.
Prostate
too, right?
cancer.
Yeah,
as well.
So you're right. You're great at cancer. Congratulations.
Yeah, really good
but
at that.
you've dealt with this loss, which to me is unimaginable when your son passed. But yet, what I've seen from you, now there's absolutely pain and grief, but you are still Deane Cheatham. You're still living your life. You're still successful. You still have great relationships around you. How did you find your footing when something like that happens and keep going?
That's a good question. It sort of goes back. When I was a teenager, my mother was a terrible alcoholic, and my dad traveled a lot, so I had to deal with that. And from just not having the mother who was compassionate and loving and inside I know that she always loved me, but if she was drinking, then it wasn't the same person that I had grown up with to that point. And sometimes I remember coming home from school one time and she was passed out in the road. I had to stop my car and pick her up and carry her in the house. And just dealing with that, dealing with injuries, having my dreams of the successes that I envisioned in college athletics going away because of a left and a right knee injury. That those are things that are hard to deal with, and in no way people deal with so much more. But those are lessons, and I've always tried to have the attitude where, if life gives you lemons, you got to try to make lemonade. And I'm a better person because of all that. Unfortunately, I got to continue to deal with some stuff. And when little Deane died, I mean that crushed me. That I wouldn't wish that on anyone. That is, I every time I think about when I heard that news. But thank God I was in Florida at a wedding of a family friend, and we were with most of the Chenault and the Chenault family and the Rogers family. And, Sam Rogers was there. We gathered, we said a prayer. And we that helped me. That helped me tremendously, having that group around me. I couldn't have done it without it. And Stephen, when things like that happen, you start to feel sorry for yourself. As a father and as a man, you want to fix things. And I saw the grief that everybody was feeling, and I felt obligated to fix it. Mm-hmm. And there's no fixing that. There's most things you can fix. You can't fix that. And that was tough. But as soon as I realized, when I came to grips on understanding that, and understanding that everyone was looking to me on how they were going to deal with this, and and how I did it was going to help lead people through their grief. Mm-hmm. And so, back to the leadership thing, that was a great leadership lesson in a horrible situation. That tomorrow the sun's going to come up tomorrow. Deane's not here. Would he want us to be moping around? Hell no. So, you just gotta put your pants on and do the same things you always do and get on with it. And we did. And so, that was tough. But the support, at his funeral, to see over 1,000 people come to that, I mean, it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And we're fortunate to be where we live in Hanover County. It's a very close-knit group, and people from all walks of life, people that I didn't know, people that I had encountered one time in my life, came and supported us, and that really made it. Yeah. And then that also makes you, if you're a person of faith, which I loosely have always been in my life, it makes you double down on that a little bit too. Yeah. And as a good thing that has come from this is my relationship with God has gotten a lot stronger. Because without the prayers, without His help, there's no way you get through something like that. So, and then I got the good news that I had prostate cancer right about that same time. And, best thing to do there is fight it, So had, fortunately, good doctors, good stuff, took it out, had some radiation, whatever else. People down at VCU love me because my wife would make cookies every Wednesday when I went on. I had to go every day for like 8 weeks, but Wednesdays I would bring them sweet treats, and they say they loved it. Well, then a couple years later, I'm out at the gym at Berkwood where I work out. I get this like weird deal, like this light over here, like a fan spinning, and this like flash. I'm like, what in the world? Went to the doctor. Long story short, they think it's a stroke at first. A couple weeks later, happens again, brain tumor. I'm like, yeesh. So here we go again. But I don't know. I mean, maybe I've sort of become desensitized a little bit to it because I've just had to deal with it. So that didn't knock me on my ass like some of the other stuff did. And then it sort of hit home when they did the biopsy, and my primary care physician drove over to my house with the news that it was glioblastoma, which is, he says there is no cure. We sat and talked a little bit about what that was, and I said, well, Dr. Mumper, is this thing undefeated? He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, does everybody who gets this die of it? I guess everybody dies. And he said, I don't really know. I said, well, it can't be undefeated. And if it's not undefeated, that means I got a chance. Right. So from that day, I'm like, I'm just going with it. And I didn't read about it. Like I know the least about glioblastoma of anybody because I don't want to know. I know that it's bad, but I don't want to know. All I want to know is what can I do to stay on top of this thing, and what can I do to encourage other people because now once you have something like this, everybody who gets diagnosed with this reaches out to you, and I'm happy to talk to you. If you know somebody who's got this and you're listening to this, please get them in touch with me because I'd love to tell them my story and help them the best that I can. But we've been on top of it, and here I am. That was February of what was that? 24, maybe? Yeah, February 24. And through I had it resected. I had chemo. I did radiation, and I do this treatment in Germany, which isn't available in the United States. So here's another great thing. I've been able to go on 9 of the greatest vacations of my life to Europe with my wife, which we never would have done. Yeah. And it's a crazy reason that we're doing it. But right. And here's the other thing is I've felt great the whole time. Like I've never felt any different. My peripheral vision is a little bit impacted, but other than that, I feel great. And I'm blessed because of that because I see the cancer ward at VCU, and I see what people are going through, and it makes me feel guilty in some ways, but it also makes me feel like if I'm standing and I'm strong, then maybe I can give those people some hope and some courage that they can do the same thing.
Yeah. And you mentioned earlier that like you were training a D1 school weeks or months ago, right?
Yeah.
Like you're still being Deane. You're still getting after it. You're
Yeah.
still doing business. Like, is there and also we talk about perspective. I don't know of a way to, like, especially with your son's passing, like, to be grateful for that perspective. Like that is a, like, even with cancer, like I don't, like, there like, again, when I didn't sleep well last night or something like that, or like, you know, or even my reflection on, like, the challenges of, like, helping people who have lost their limbs at war, like even like this sort of cancer and then losing your son, it's very hard to compare things to. So you want to keep a perspective, like, yeah, other people have it worse, but that's pretty, I mean, those are significant challenges.
Yeah.
Do you have daily, I'm not talking about, like, affirmations or anything like that, but do you have daily, like, practices or things that go through your head to keep you consistently driving forward? Because I would imagine that blow after blow after blow, it can get really freaking tiring. Like, it could get really exhausting. And you have again, as I stated in the beginning, you have an incredible community around you, which likely has a lot to do with that. But you, Deane, as a leader, regardless of your community, you've kept being Deane, and you've kept leading, and you've remained active. And to me, that's just your positive outlook, and your personality hasn't changed, and all. It's just insane to me. Is there, like, daily practices or thought processes that you go through to stay motivated or driven or disciplined to do the things that you do?
I think this, I don't know if it's a secret, but a pattern that has helped me stay on top of this is never getting focused on why. And what I mean by that is I could sit here and burn my brain about why was Deane killed? Why did I get prostate cancer? Why are my knees bad? Why did I get brain cancer? And that will kill you. That is what drives you down. It puts you in a quagmire that you just cannot get out of. And very fortunate that I got away from that. I don't even know if I ever was there. Mm-hmm. I mean, I can't say that I've never asked myself why for those questions, but I don't dwell on that. And I see so many people that have talked to me about similar experience, whether it be losing a child or you know, a death in the family or a cancer diagnosis or whatever it is. That's where they want to keep their head, and that's the space they want to live in, and that doesn't work. So if you can get out of that, well, then you're just back to you again. And if you're a leader, like you said that I am, at least, you know, so I don't want, I want you to realize that no matter what happens in your life, you still have your family, you still have your, you know, you hopefully still have your business, but you still got the ability to take a breath. Mm-hmm. And I know, I mean, there's some great SEAL team thing like that, you know, that you're never out of the fight.
Right.
Well, I'm never out of the fight. I mean, until I quit, I'm not out of the fight, you know, so I'm going to go for it. And I guess maybe it's easier because I feel good. If I didn't feel as good, maybe then I start feeling sorry for myself. I need you to kick me in the ass and get me out of that. So please do if you ever see that. But, you know, that's the whole game is it's not doing anybody any good for me to mope around, for me to change, for me to not do anything. In fact, I want to double down on stuff that I can do so that I can set that example so that when somebody else gets that diagnosis, they can say, you know what, this thing is not undefeated. Somebody has defeated it, and at least we can. The game ain't over. You know, I don't know what quarter it is in my life,
right?
But I know. I think it probably maybe it's past halftime, but so we're in the second half for sure. But there's still time on the clock, and I'm going to go for it. So
yeah. That's powerful. It reminds me there was a book written by someone who was in the concentration camps of World War II. I think Auschwitz to be specific, and this prisoner would write about the horrors of that camp, you know, which anyone can look up and read about.
Yeah.
But the horrors of the camp, and he was a survivor, and people would ask how he survived, and what he realized during that experience was the people who died were the people that accepted their fate. and went and felt sorry for themselves, essentially. And he put it in way more eloquent words and stuff. But
and you can understand how people could do that.
Right.
I mean,
100%.
And you can't know how you'd react in that situation. But
and his lesson was, like, the underlying reason for the book was he realized in the concentration camp that they could strip everything away from him. All of his clothes, food, any human decency. They could kill everyone around him. They could do anything they wanted, but the one thing they couldn't do is change his mindset.
Yeah.
He realized that no matter what they did to him, he would always be in control of his mindset. And it was such a powerful lesson that I will think about. Is like, the second I feel sorry for myself, like, at anything that happens to me in life. Now, I have not faced near the adversity that you or other people have faced, but the small amounts of adversity that I've faced, I can look at that and be like, okay, out of anything, if this guy can control his mindset through cancer, the loss of his son, through concentration camps in World War II, if they can control their mindset, then I certainly can when the weather's not right, or when, you know. So I think that's, and it sounds similar to what you're saying, is like, there are people that live in this world, and that's, you know, again, I've not faced that adversity, so I'm not going to speak on it, but you have chosen to keep a mindset that you want and stay in control of your mindset in dealing with these challenges. And it seems like that is a powerful driving force for you.
Yeah. And just, you know, you can always look at things, and there's, no matter where you are, I think there's always something good. Mm-hmm. You know, and so, and maybe I'm not the world's greatest person at praying, but when I pray, I think that helps me. It helps me because I pray and give thanks for the things that I appreciate in my life. Mm-hmm. And so if you constantly remind yourself of that, regardless of your connection with God, which I think is a whole separate issue, but reminding yourself of the good things versus what's so easy to do is focus on the bad things, then that helps you as well. And, you know, it's amazing when you have so many people. Every day I run into people, they're like, we're praying for you. Mm-hmm. You know, you realize that works. Right. I mean, it is working. And, you know, that I'm thankful for that too. So it's crazy. So
let's talk about Pay It Forward 37.
Okay.
Tell us what that is. So
when we lost little Deane, there's something for you. When we lost little Deane, I was we had a ski trip planned in Colorado with some friends, and it was like less than a month after he passed. It was the end of January. It was January 7th of 23 when he was in the accident. And we weren't going to go. We thought about not going. And again, that's a typical thing and understandable, but I'm like, that's the dumbest thing in the world. You know, we need to go. I need to be a friend to these people. I need to do this for me. I need to do it for Cindy, and we need to go. So we went. We went to a place out near Lake Tahoe, and we were skiing one day, and I just had the best day, snowboarding. My wife skis, but I was snowboarding and had the best day, just perfect conditions. It was just awesome, and it was just invigorating for me. My mind was really not on the loss of my son, and I'm just doing my thing and whatever else. And so the last run of the day, I must have missed the turn where we were supposed to go, and I wound up at the end of the hill, and I could see the parking lot, but it doesn't look anything like the parking lot where we parked. And the good news, the silver lining, was there was a bar at the end of the thing. So I'm like, well, you know, not a disaster. I'm really good at this. I can go in here and have a couple suds and celebrate the fact that we had a good day and I didn't tear out another knee or anything. So I go to the bar, and I'm ordering a beer, and this guy comes in. He's just in a great mood, whatever. And he goes, hey, man, whatever you want, you order it. It's on me. I'm like, no, you don't need to do that. He goes, no. He goes, I've had the best day today. Awesome. He goes, I just want to share that with somebody. And then I started thinking, man, that's really cool, you know, how people can be so kind. And so I got a beer, sat down. We talked for a little while, and I started thinking about at the funeral how people were coming up to me and telling me how much, well, this was actually at the visitation, which there was 1,000+ people at that too. I've never talked to so many people in my life as that night. And but the common theme was something I didn't know, and that was how kind Deane was. Like, you know, if the way I saw it, he was maybe not always, especially to his brother and sister, he wasn't always the kindest person. But that's sometimes a father's perspective. But a kid that he went to high school with told me that 3 times he was going to commit suicide, and Deane talked him off the ledge. I'm like, you're talking about Deane Cheatham did that? And he's like, yeah, wow. And other people, like, just story after story of kind things that he did. And I'm like, man. So then all of a sudden I'm thinking, this guy was so kind to me. We need to think about some way to remember Deane and remember that kindness. And the ski resort, here's the irony, was called Heavenly. And I'm like, man, so it all came to me, just sitting there right there. I'd only had 1 beer, so it wasn't like a big beer thought thing, but I'm like, we need to do something where we can pay that forward. And that's what the whole crux of the story is. The guy said, hey, man, just when you have an opportunity to do something nice for somebody, just pay it forward. And I started thinking, man, that would be pretty cool. So we came up with this Pay It Forward 37. Deane's number at JMU was 37, played football at JMU, and Clayton also wore that number at JMU as well. But so we came up with these coins. Stephen has one in front of him, and so the whole idea is you have that coin, you give it to somebody. If you have a chance to do something nice for somebody, be kind, do that act, give them the coin, tell them a little bit of the story behind it, tell them to keep it with them, and when as a reminder of they can do something kind for somebody else, and pay it forward and keep passing it on. And maybe, just maybe, because of a tragic, terrible thing that happened on January 7th of 2023, we can change, at least put a smile on somebody's face, maybe change somebody's life over and over again throughout the world. And there's a QR code on that coin, and if you go to that, it tells you a little bit about the story, and there's a map. People can register those coins, and it'll put a little pin, a little football on the map, and you can see they're all over the world. And so it's been cool to see that, and I think Deane would be really proud of that.
I think so. And we've hosted at least one workout for Pay It Forward 37 in I guess collaboration with Bring It RVA, which you're a part of as well. This also raises money, correct?
Yeah, well, that's people can do that as well. It's not a scheme to raise money, but we developed a charity, if you will, a memorial fund in Deane's name at James Madison. Deane initially, he wanted to be a college football coach, and unfortunately that didn't work out. But he was in that for 5 years, sort of as a graduate assistant and a entry level, and we learned that graduate assistants, even at Division I level, are not paid. So think about how many kids. Deane was fortunate because we had the resources to where he could chase his dream and we could support that. How many kids don't have that? And yet they could be the greatest coach. Think of how many coaches or the impact that coaches made in your life. They certainly made a huge impact in my life, probably more than the teachers that I had. Yet so many of the best coaches never get to be coaches because they can't afford to go down that path. So what the Deane Cheatham 4 Memorial Fund at James Madison does is it created a stipend for the graduate assistants to at least be able to put a roof over their head, maybe get some food. And now, I guess in football, there's 4 graduate assistants. I think this year maybe they get either $2,500 or $3,000 a piece, which isn't going to do a whole lot, but that's a lot better than zero.
Yeah, for sure.
And I've met these guys; they really appreciate it. And as the funds continue to come in, we'll expand that. Our family's really gotten wrapped around it, and a lot of other organizations have gotten wrapped around it. So, it's now a fully endowed thing, and we'll continue to add on to that, and hopefully we can take it into other programs and maybe, other schools. Who knows? Yeah,
that's incredible. I'll post a photo, and we can put this in the notes as well. But it's payitforward37.com where you can learn more about this. And this coin says spread kindness 37.
Yeah, and there's another word on there too that if you look. What's that other word you say?
Yeah. Oh, resilience. Yeah,
resilience. Yeah. And you think about, that the at the funeral service for Deane, the whole idea for the coins came from Brandon Baldwin, who was the pastor at New Community Church, and he did the service for us. And at the end, he gave every member of our family a coin not that coin, but a coin that had 37 on one side and resilience on the back. Deane was very resilient in how he lived his life. And, as you think about, is there a trait that's more important in how we live our lives than to be resilient, to be able to come back from adversity and devastation and whatever it might be? And so that word is something that I never really respected or really paid much attention to, but it's a big part of who I am and a big part of what I try to preach every day.
That's powerful.
Yeah, it's cool. And again, we're trying to help people not only change their lives, but you think about those coaches and how I just can't wait to see follow these guys that are doing this, and then all of a sudden one of them winds up
right.
Really doing something great, or even if they don't do anything great, just what they're doing, they're changing, they're impacting young men and hopefully young women when we get to that side of things too.
So payitforward37.com, how can people find you?
Well, if you
just go through Hometown.
Yeah, you can Google me and probably find most of the stuff, because Deane was a really good athlete. So most time if you Google Deane Cheatham, you get stuff about him playing football. But you'll find me somewhere in there. And then, like I said, back to somebody who wants to talk to me about whatever. If they themselves are dealing with adversity, or especially with cancer, people can call me. Just don't be ashamed to do it. I'd love to sit down and talk to you, whether it be over the phone or in person. So yeah, that's how you can get in touch with me.
Any final thoughts?
No, it's been great, I certainly encourage the listeners to pay attention to your story as well, because from the start, one of the things that motivated me was guys like you, who were highly disciplined, very intense, and watching you, whether I was leading or whether I was in the pack, was always impressive to me. And then to look at what you've done with this company. I mean, not that it surprises me. It was disappointing, because I guess my take on you was, I think at one point you wanted to be a Navy SEAL.
Correct. And
your dream was taken away from you.
Right.
Through, accident, whatever else.
Mm-hmm.
And again, rather than focus on, you could have gone a lot of different ways there, and you
right.
didn't. You chose to, pursue different avenues, still helping people, still trying to benefit yourself and your family and others around you, and it's been a great story. So maybe I'll do a podcast and interview you.
Fair enough. All right. Before we sign off here, I want to read something. You had sent me something that says some of the keys to success, stumbling upon the success is. I don't think it was so much stumbling, but
it was.
Surround myself with this is Deane's some of Deane's keys to success. In no particular order, I should say. Surrounding myself with great people. Always wanting my parents to be proud of me. Realizing my own strengths and weaknesses and spending the majority of my time and effort in the areas where I'm strong. Always trying to find the good in situations and the people that I'm around. Every time I take a step up the ladder, I try to reach back and help as many people as I can. Never focusing on negative things that could happen, and always keeping my focus on positive outcomes. Marrying the right woman.
Yeah, I got really fortunate in that situation.
Yeah. Playing competitive sports. Working on my faith and trying to continuously build a better relationship with God. Exercising regularly. Deane, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Yeah.
More importantly, thank you for being a leader, for influencing and making an impact. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thank you, buddy.